In this lecture, we will focus on how Christianity became the official religion in the Roman Empire and its impact on the Church. On 28 October 312, at Milvian Bridge near Rome, two armies lined up for battle. The larger army was led by Maxentius, who had been on the throne of Rome for 6 years. His opponent and a claimant to the throne was Constantine, at the helm of an army half the size of that of Maxentius. There was something unusual about the army of Constantine. Their military standard was affixed with an unusual sign, the G-Rho symbol, formed from the first two Greek letters of the word Christ, G and Rho. According to Eusebius of Caesarea, Constantine ordered his troops to affix the symbol in response to a command he received in a vision. In the build-up to the battle, he had seen a vision of a cross of light above the sun, bearing the inscription, "In this sign, conquer." This event and his conversion to Christian faith totally changed the fortune of Christianity in the Roman Empire. Constantine did much towards the promotion of the Christian faith. In February 313, through the Edict of Milan, Christianity was made a legal religion in the Roman Empire. Constantine also granted certain privileges to the churches, including tax exemption for church property, military exemption for clergy, and empowering the bishops to be judges in their own dioceses. In the traditional Roman understanding, the emperors were responsible to the gods for the spiritual health of their subjects. Even as they embraced Christianity, the Roman emperors continued to entertain this thought of their spiritual responsibility. It was in line with this thought that Constantine decided to interfere when he found a church embroiled in controversy over doctrinal disagreements. The church then was particularly divided over the teaching of Arius of Alexandria and the nature of Christ. A concerned Constantine therefore called the Council of Nicaea in AD 325 to resolve the issue. Constantine, who actively participated in the discussion during the council, was also at hand to impose the decision of the council and effected the excommunication of Arius and his followers. This sets a precedent to be followed throughout the medieval period. The Church defines the doctrine, and the state helps maintain it. With Constantine, close relationship between the Church and state began to develop in the Roman Empire. The theological articulation of this relationship was most clearly given by Augustine of Hippo, who in his famous book, The City of God, argued that the state has a role to play in making it possible for a heavenly city to be established on earth. For Augustine, both the church and the state were instituted by God to represent and implement the principles of the city of God. The imperial favor on Christianity facilitated an increase in Christian population in the Roman Empire. By AD 390, probably 90% of the population was at least nominally Christian. In AD 392, Emperor Theodosius declared Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire. Thus, in less than a century, the fortune of Christianity turned from being a persecuted community to the official religion of the Roman Empire. The change in fortune of Christianity also changed the status of Christians, especially those in leadership. Earlier, Christian leadership was a position of great danger. It invited persecution from the authority, which means that many of them suffered martyrdom. It was not a position for the faint-hearted. However, with the change in fortune, it became a position of power. In the new environment, the position of the bishops of certain Christian centers like Jerusalem, Antioch, Alexandria, and Rome grew in prominence. The Bishop of Constantinople also became highly important after Constantine moved his capital to the city in 330 AD. In the subsequent years, the power struggle between the bishops of these important Christian centers, especially between that of Rome and Constantinople, led to a schism in the church, dividing Christendom into East and West. After encountering great levels of persecution for the first time, after 300 years of difficulties, Christians began to experience a new environment in which it was the favored religion in the Roman Empire. The downside of this was that many people who crowded into the church had no genuine conversion experience. The result was moral slackness or decline in the vitality of the spiritual life of the church. Many spiritual-minded Christians of the time were therefore concerned with the poor spiritual state of the churches. In the light of this, some chose to withdraw from the fleeting splendor in search of holiness and peace. Many found the answer to this quiz in monasticism. The growing interest in monasticism, starting from the 4th century, is reflected well in the writing of a biographical work, Life of Antony, in AD 360 by Athanasius of Alexandria. This book depicts the ascetic life of Antony in the desert of Egypt, engaging in spiritual exercise and struggle against demonic powers. Antony is the earliest known Christian ascetic or monk. He is sometimes referred to as the father of monasticism. Antony's example was followed by many people, and the Egyptian desert especially was dotted with ascetic dwellings. But perhaps Christians were not meant to hide away and live in absolute seclusion. Even those committed to monastic life realized it and began to live in communities of monks. The honor of starting organized monastic life is usually attributed to Pachomius. He was an Egyptian soldier who was converted to Christianity and took up a solitary life as a monk. He soon felt that the irregularities of the solitary life was not good, and started the first monastery around AD 320. With monks living together in communities, the need to develop a rule to govern the day-to-day life in the monastic community arose. Benedict of Nursia developed one such rule in around AD 529. It became the standard template for monastic rule in the days to come. According to his now famous rule of Benedict, there should be one abbot in every monasteries under whom the monastery was to function. Worship was to occupy a primary position in the day-to-day life in the monastic life. Work was also made compulsory, which was divided into two kinds. One was manual labor in the fields, and the other was reading and copying scripture. For many sincere Christians in the 4th century and onwards, monastic life became a refuge away from the increasing worldliness of the church. In monasticism, they found solace from their spiritual dissatisfaction with the churches of their time. In the course of time, monasticism became the center of Christian spirituality and mission. Up till the modern period, every Christian spiritual movement emerged from the monasteries. Also, until the modern missionary period, without the preaching monks, there would have been little or no Christian evangelism.